things, and a couple other people said, "Hey, we're doing this stuff," and I'll go and I'll watch, but I still say, I don't know, I'm not sure, because I do a lot of physical stuff most of the times. And so, it's I was like, no, but I'm starting, like, it's starting to feel like no matter what, like Dave Carter and I were talking about this, no matter what happens in the future, I think this is going to continue, because it's bridged a gap, as far as, cross country, internationally, like all these things that before would cost thousands of dollars.
Yes, right?
Now we could just do it, So I think it's going to stick around. So when you invited me, I said, you know what, I better get off my butt and start to.
Well, when this yeah, when this hit, I was like, if I don't do it right away and do a whole bunch of these right away, the train's gonna pass me by and I'm not gonna know how, and I'll be too scared. So right away, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna jump into it and see what can happen. And the physical play too, I think can still happen. It's just in a different way. But I did a scene with a buddy of mine and we played basketball and we got into a fight. I
Nice.
It was great. Like he bloodied my nose and I headbutted him. Like and it was very fun. But it was one of the first times I went, okay, there is a way through this format to do that. So don't be afraid to get physical or do whatever during this time.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I look forward to that. And Dave was, he was saying we probably should just put together a working group and just work through some of this stuff, the same way that, when it started,
Totally.
didn't have sweep edits or cut to,
Right.
it clap edits for presidents, you know?
Yeah. And I think what I've noticed is coming back to it, if you're doing a big group thing, clap edit is sometimes pretty effective because you're like, so you're building it up from the ground floor again.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Give me pick a number 1 to 30.
I'm gonna go 14.
All right. That's also my birth date is the 14th of March. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. This comes from Jan Roger, and the suggestion is professors. Professors. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's good to see you, Roger.
Philip. Wonderful as always.
The I find that the midterm is always the most difficult in this semester.
Okay, listen,
Yes.
I want my pipe back.
Oh, I thought you would be asking about your bike.
I, I've tried to live with it. I've tried to deal with it, but I want it back.
If you want your bike back, then you can have your bike back.
Okay.
Easy enough. Easy enough.
All
In
right.
fact, I biked here to the pub and it's locked outside. Let me give you the key.
This, thank you.
The
That's
bike is
great.
yours. The bike is yours. I know I should have given it to you earlier. You won it fair and square. It is, after all, your bike that I won, and then now you won it back. So I'm a gracious loser, if nothing. So, Roger, the bike's yours.
It's great. I really, this is wonderful. I didn't think this would go this well. I thought, bite me over it. This is great. It's great. I really, I appreciate this. I do.
Oh, you thought that there'd be some sort of struggle between us for the bike.
I did. I really did. I really thought that I mean, it's a great bike.
Oh, it's
I would
amazing.
think, I would think you'd want to keep it.
I, Roger, I do want to keep the bike. That's not, I mean, it is, you get on the bike and it's like sitting on a pillow. The cushion, you can sit on that. I mean, the bike is It's unique. It's handmade. It's a one of a kind. It's a piece of art,
Yeah,
Roger. It's a piece of
yes,
art that you get
yeah.
to ride.
I love it. I love it. Just one other thing. I mean, now that
Yes.
I have the bike,
Yes.
uh, can we talk about my wife?
I was going to say you probably want her back as well.
I would like that. Yes, yes,
I
that would be.
mean,
And she's. It's been a year and a half. I mean, it's it's starting to be uncomfortable at home. To be honest, I mean, it's just.
it makes complete sense, Roger. I mean, it makes complete sense that you two are married, and I think our little dalliance has turned into something that neither one of us saw. But it's ironic that you bring this up now because at that same point, she has been mentioning that she's grown tired of our little uh, tete-a-tete and does think she's ready to come home to you. She's never called being with me home, Roger. She's called being with you home, and so I'm not one to stand in the way of true love. Ours was but a torrid love affair, a passion filled with lust and carnal desires. Ours was not built on a foundation. Ours was built on sand. So yes, of course, I shall not stand in the way of you and Bernice getting back together. I mean, all she did was talk about you, and I understand why. You're a good man. I'm I've always been envious of you, Roger. I mean, you earned tenureship before I did, and you've been more like an idol to me than a big brother. So
Also,
yeah,
I appreciate that. I do, and I feel the same way. You know, I feel like you've been uh, kind of the little brother slash almost son, but a little bit too old to be my son that I've
very yes.
always wanted. Yes, but I did feel it was time to just clear the air, get back to things that belong to me, and I mean not that Bernice is a possession, she's a person, but
Right.
you just
But
really
you're in a relationship with her.
well, yeah. It took a little bit of a hit for the last year and a half, what with her not being here with me, being
Yeah.
home. That hurt. It was tough. It's tough. But hey, you know what? Water under the bridge. Water. It's. I appreciate you being gracious, giving them back, and I'm sure you're gonna be fine. Whatever you do in your next assignment, your next job.
I mean, it's a man has to know his limitations, right? A man has to know when he's met his match, when he's been vanquished, and Roger, oh God, oh my God,
Whoa, what? Whoa.
I'm a mess. I am a mess. I'm miserable. I'm a miserable human being. I
Well,
I want to gather things. I thought collecting things would make me happy, so I collected your bike and your wife, and I collected this job, and it just means nothing. I'm a wreck. I'm a terrible, horrible wreck of a human being, Roger. I'm just terrible.
no, Philip.
Yes, I am. I am.
Okay. Oh well. All right, fine. Yes, you are
I
horrible.
ran over a dog on your bike on the way here, and I didn't stop. I ran over a how does one ride over like I rode over I saw the dog coming. I could have moved and the dog it was a very slow moving dog, very slow, and I had plenty of
Oh
time, but I
no!
didn't.
Wait, you had to slow down in order to hit the dog. Why would you? Why would you do that?
Because Roger, I am a terrible human being. That's what I'm telling you. I am miserable. I want to make a change in my life so badly. I just do, and part of me thinks, oh, it's always mid semester where I have these thoughts, but this is something very different. The reason that you wanted to meet was to me a sign for me to clean my life up. That's what I need to do is clean my life up. And
Well,
I'm making a vow today. And that's why I'm here. Today is the day. And you did not think I was going to give your bike back that easily
no.
because I'm a garbage human being. But now I can see I can grow. I'm very scared. I'm scared to be alone. But I can see that it's in the best interest for me to grow, Roger. To grow. I want to reiterate the fact that I slowed down
I
for
can't.
I
I really just.
slowed down for the dog to cross and then I hit the dog. Who does that?
So you let the dog think it was going to be able to cross,
Yes.
accelerated into it.
I waved I was like, "Come on, dog." And I waved. I know that's what I'm saying, Roger. You're doing me a favor today. You're doing me a favor by
I
coming
mean,
here.
you, so I okay. So listen, we've been friends a long time. I love you,
Oh, I
but
love you.
you've crossed the line. I mean, you're
Yeah.
you're definitely in need of help. So this is what we should do. Why don't I keep the bike? Because yeah, but why doesn't Bernice just stay with you for a while, just for a little bit? I don't know that it's such a good idea for you to be alone right now. I just
Really?
yes. I'll talk to her. Everything will be fine. She just for a while though. Though I do want her back. I just you alone right now. I mean, my God, you're murdering dogs. Who does that?
Bernice. Bernice, honey, turn around. He says it's okay. Thank you, Roger. She came in just because I was hoping my story would affect you in that way. Oh, you're a prince, my friend. You're a prince.
Oh, wait.
Have
I'm
a
sorry.
great day. No, have a great day. Bernice, we have his approval now. Scene. I loved the fact I was a garbage human being. That
Yeah,
was so great. And you're like, wait, you slowed down? Yeah, I slowed down. Like, what a terrible human being.
you can go, dog. No, you.
Go. Dude, that was so much fun, man. You're so fun to play with.
Hey, you too. You too. That was really great. Um, Lots of fun, and yeah, you're right. I could see there are a lot. There's a lot of different things that we could do with that with this form. It's a whole new thing.
It's a
It's a
whole
whole it's a whole new
yeah.
experience that
And
you add on to a show and have like you get like the Edinburgh Festival
yeah.
or the Boom. I don't know if Boom is still going on, but you could have one of those people in your show, or
Well,
you their show, or what you know.
guess just before we did our scene, I did a scene with my friend Stacy, who's in the cast of Boom Chicago. Just
Okay,
5 minutes before we got together.
okay.
And that to me, the joy of this form, my friend, is that who are the people? Think about the people you love playing with who you don't get a chance to. Now it's a connection. Think about the groups you've been in that you're like, oh, I wish we still were able to get together. You can do those reunion shows now. So to me, this opens up. And like we talked earlier, it's what percentage will be online and what percentage will be virtual and what percentage will be hybrid after all of this is done. Because it's here to stay and the technology is just going to get better, faster, more efficient too.
Yeah, I think I absolutely agree. I think there's got to be. I know there is. It's just a cost issue, a way to do it to where we could do this and you could have it up on a monitor and we could still hear people's reactions and all of that. And that's, I mean, it's gonna, and ultimately, I think, and I don't know that we'll ever see this, but Dave always jokes me because every time there's some kind of movement, I'm like, I think we're closer to a long form TV show. He's like, dude, shut up. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, it is.
I,
I
I,
mean, you saw Middle
mean,
Ditch and Schwartz.
we've tried so many times and it just never
But
gets.
that's the fun. Think of how many iterations we've tried, and for the years you've been doing this, that thought of like it can happen, and then we get a little closer, and then like Middleditch and Schwartz came along, and it's like that brought us a little bit closer. And so I think the next part of this is having improvisers be try to do it in a little more of a professional way.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's the only thing. It's like instead of just showing up, it's like, all right, let's put a little thought into it. Now, how do we use this technology to create that show we want to do?
And having improvisers, because more and more now we've got improvisers and people who understand improvisation, who are camera people and sound people and tech people, so they can, like, a lot of those things that those other crews were confused about, where you really had to plan everything out. Yeah. They can be like, okay, this is where they like a piano player would, and,
yes,
and,
yes.
and like they some of the best improvisers in the world are piano accompanist, because they can see exactly where you're going, and some of the lighting techs, they shade the light for you or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think we're coming to a place, hopefully, where the sound and video crews are getting that sight of what it is we do, and are able to interact with us and help the whole product be better.
Well, you're getting those 360 cameras, which I'm jazzed about, which is, now you can do these shows where the audience can choose what they want to look at, and you're getting 360 mics as well. So that's moving this forward. The guy who was the CEO of Twitter is a guy named Dick Costello. He is now like retired, but he was an improviser from Chicago, part of the Annoyance Theater. So there are a lot of tech guys and gals involved who are now also seeing, whether they're improvisers or they've taken a class or they start to see it. Now it's like, okay, they're starting to slowly come together. And I think it is possible. I just think it takes people doing it and being willing to fail and go, okay, let's try it. And then you go, what worked? Not what didn't work. We all know what's not going to work, but what worked? Now let's do another iteration with what worked and keep building on that.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely. It's funny because I was talking to somebody about failure a couple of days ago, and I said, it's morphed into something it didn't mean before. Like when I learned don't be afraid to fail, it wasn't. It was don't be afraid to fail. It wasn't tongue kiss failure. That was not.
Yeah.
That was not the idea.
Yes.
It was don't do something because you might fail. Just do it. And if that, but now it's like I'll teach a class and say, well, I mean, I'm not afraid to. Shut up. That's not.
Shut up. No, I think you're right on.
Like you're still putting your best, but it's literally like you said, saying, I don't know where this is going to go, but I'm going to follow this. But you do it in a way, you're still listening, you're still, doing what you're supposed to do. And some of these guys, I think, and maybe I'm just getting old, but some of these guys, they're really misunderstanding or haven't quite heard it the right way when it comes to that. And it's a little bit, when I'm teaching, like, come on, man, that's not what anyone meant.
Well, it's you embrace it, you don't aim for it, right? You're not like, let's submerge, let's like, unless you're in a group with other people who go, our goal is to do that, then, and you market the show as we're doing bad, then that's different. But you embrace the mistakes as gifts. You don't try to purposely create them.
That's not. It's one of those deals where he's like, I had a conversation that same kid was we're talking about no, and no versus denial. I'm like, dude, like if I ask you to join my gang, you can say no. You can't say, oh, it's not a gang. You're a set of elephants. Like, you get to say no.
It's the elephant gang. The elephant gang's coming. Watch out. Well, and you're talking about what? Acceptance? You're talking about like accepting what the situation is. You're talking about, the difference between, like you said, denying that reality,
right,
and making a different choice. And I think sometimes you take a class or you learn from people who throw these things out, like don't ask questions, and you're like, and they might not even know why they're saying that, but they heard somebody say it, so they're like, don't ask questions. Like, well, no, questions are okay. Like, and do you know why we're saying that? Well, what we mean to say is, we don't mean to say don't ask questions. I think what we mean to say is provide information. So if you shift the note as a teacher away from what not to do to what to do, then it's fine. Of course, there are exceptions when you've got that person in class where you're like, all right, motherfucker, I've said this note 10 times. Now I'm going to tell you to stop.
Right. Just because they those people, you have to. But I think, I was talking to Ron and Dave the other day, and I'm like, I think what happened was, like with any industry, when it started out, there were only so many teachers. And there were only, so many people who really knew what they're doing. And then the business of it got bigger.
Yeah.
And so they needed people to fill these teacher positions. And I'm not speaking again, but there are some people teaching who don't have a full understanding of what they're saying. And it's creating these groups of people. Like I did I'm not even kidding. I did a whole hour on no and denial, an hour. Because it was like 30 people and everybody still had and of course we did a couple scenes to play with it. But I'm like, guys, listen, you really got to get this. I'm a person who plays with no, but I will be the first person to tell you, yes is easier. That's what your teachers aren't saying completely for you. Yes is easier. It's just easier to go with it.
Always.
You play with no, but you get in trouble. And here's some ways you get in trouble. And no isn't necessarily a denial. And it was like I invented a bomb in front of them or something. Like they were just like, oh, I'm like, oh my God. Just
well, it's good. We need that bomb for that gang of elephants, dude. But it's funny you mentioned the teaching thing, because I worked at Second City in Chicago for years, and then I moved out to LA, but right about the time, right before I moved, I think they kind of expanded and took over more of the building, and they brought in an influx of teachers because they weren't, and it wasn't like they were necessarily prepared. They were just like, shit, we need more teachers for classes. And then the people who they're judging as teachers aren't always necessarily like, that shouldn't be the criteria. It shouldn't be like, well, you've toured or you've done it's like, that doesn't mean you're going to be a good teacher. And I know plenty of teachers who are amazing who have never like toured with Second City or been on a stage, or so you have to be more proactive in who you're looking at and targeting to be teachers too. Like, don't be afraid. I remember teaching and I would go to my artistic director and say, hey, this person is in my level 2. They've got really good instincts. They also teach on the side. So that might be somebody later on when they're ready, to start like forming a path for them to become a teacher, because they might really enjoy it. They seem to have that understanding now. But I think you're right. Like early on, there weren't as many spots to be a teacher. And now it's like you can do it anywhere. It's just I hope they aren't damaging people's improv experience to the point where people are leaving because they're either not skilled enough to be a teacher, or they don't point things out or make it a safe space.
Yeah, I think the safe, so Ronnie and we had to push back the announcement, but Ronnie and I are building a theater here in Chicago. It's the first African-American sketch theater.
Really?
We still need a name, but
no, I like that. I like African-American sketch pause theater. That's great.
Just have the ellipses. But but that's one of the things that we discussed in our planning meetings is making sure, one, it's gonna be a not-for-profit. It's gonna be a 501c3, because the more I looked at it, I said, you know what, the problem is these are for-profit centers, and a for-profit center has one main goal, which is to make more money every quarter. And so if someone is being unsafe, then that person's toxicity is balanced versus how much money they're bringing in or are responsible for. And I don't want to be in that situation. The only way to not be in that situation is to have a not-for-profit organization. If it's for-profit, you have to look at that. Yeah. Like everybody can be mad at Louis C.K.'s manager for not dumping him earlier, but I guarantee you, had he come to a meeting and said, yeah, I threw away the $20 million a year client,
Exactly.
and there's no charges filed. There's nothing in the press that anyone knows about
Yes. Yes.
this company anymore.
Yeah. Hey,
It is, what do you?
I feel bad that you're having this experience, but my rent is $3 million a month.
Right,
So I
right.
gotta, that's my first thing because, and then you go, if I can't make that rent, then the theater closes. So then, yeah, you put people are in a tricky situation where they can't do that.
Right. And I have to make this money as opposed to as a non for profit. I can go to banks, I can go on
Yeah.
ABC. All I have to do is post some stuff and go, hey, we need some money. And give it to you. You know? And so that, like I said, we got to do that. And we've got to do an ongoing board
Yeah.
that constantly reviews practices the same way you would for physical safety. So like you would in a plant. Like in a plant, they really do have that where like there's people walking around all the time going, this could be safer. And so like how do we do that mentally and emotionally for actors and communications people is to do the same thing that Motown did. They followed the example of the assembly lines. Like just follow what these people are doing. They have safety boards.
Wait a minute. You want to run an improv theater like a respectable, legitimate business would be run?
I know
Good
it's
luck.
yeah, it's it's absolutely insane. But one of the, you know, what's funny is I posted a thing about the annoyance, and so I got all these messages and everything, and the one constant from the people who were there at the beginning and in those is, you know what, we intended to have a place where people who were mean just didn't want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And
great.
it's like if that's your intention, that's what you're building. It's like it doesn't matter how talented you are. If you want to be mean, go be somewhere else.
No,
Don't,
for sure.
you
I
know.
think it's that thing of like when people in class, I don't like arguments in scenes because I'm like, I'm not saying they, again, like you say, it's like, I'm not saying they can't work or anything. I've seen enough and I want to make it easier. So when people push back in any part of that, my fail safe, my fallback is, cool, I just don't want it here, so maybe this isn't the space for you. Go do it where, I mean, I know there are plenty of places to do that, but this is not the place for it. So I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm not saying it's like, I'm not arguing any of those points. I'm just saying here, I want it to be a place where people feel safe that they can explore and do anything, and not a place where your right is outweighed. Yeah, and you go like, why did you yes and that terrible thing I was doing? Like, I don't want to be in that space.
Right. And I think those are, you know, part of, I think what happened in improv. I wasn't there at the very beginning, but I think what happened is it started off as this thing. It wasn't. It was a process that helped people write.
Yeah.
No, and then it took off into this other thing, and nowhere along the way did anybody really sit down and go, "Hey, this is a business. Why don't we do what other businesses are
You,
doing?"
you know why? It was artists trying to run businesses, and they have no experience. You got no reference. It's like when you do an improv scene with another improviser set in an office, and it's like it looks nothing like being in an office because you don't have that reference of being in the office.
Right, and that's the funny thing that David Brown said to me is all these years that I've been begrudgingly working in sales, and you know what, this might be the thing that actually helps. He's like, you're writing these books now, and he's like, you can, like, because I can actually look at like all the stuff no one else wants to do. I actually like, you know, like I
It's
enjoy
huge.
going. All right, let's put together a plan for this. Like,
But that's the thing that's going to keep it going. That's the thing that's going to grow it. That's the thing that's going to allow it to be what it is. And I'm sure you've been in plenty of meetings and groups where they're like, we're going to do this theater company. And then you're like, it falls apart after the first meeting because there's no follow through. Nobody knows what to do.
I'm not kidding. I've been in meetings like that where no one wants to take notes. I'm like, okay, well, this is not going to work.
You're like,
No one wants to take notes. Really? How are we going to remember what we said? Oh, we just will.
dude, it's improv. We'll wing it.
Not how businesses work at all. It's just not, you know. But like you said, like they have no friend without friends.
Yeah.
they've never these are people who, when I was in LA and I had a good, day gig, like I'd offer them jobs just because they needed money, knowing I'd have to fire them in 2 weeks. Like, and we're still friends because they knew they needed to be fired too.
Yeah.
Like they have no desire to learn anything about that world or how it works. And that's, like you said, like that's fine, but you have to acknowledge that it's necessary, especially like people are getting more and more upset and people are speaking out more and more. Yep. And you shouldn't want people to be harmed in your space. Like, why is that something you're okay with? Like you wouldn't paint your walls with lead paint. Like, why would you,
right? But the other thing too is, and you probably experienced this, where you've got the background in sales and you've got your foot in that world, but then you have other people who have no reference to that going, I don't know. And you're like, I fucking do it. And they're like, I know, but I've watched TV about sales. And you're like, fuck, all right, man.
I really do. I am happy with myself in this respect. I've grown to a place where I can listen to someone unqualified speak for a set amount of time and not either have to leave, yell at them, or need a drink. So I'm happy with myself there, because there was a period of time where if one of those three things was gonna happen. If you were talking with no authority and you just it sounded like nails on a chalkboard to me, and something had to happen.
Yes.
But now I just acknowledge, like, everyone wants to feel like they know, and so it's like, okay, I'm gonna give you that. That's fine. And another huge one for me, that took me a long time to learn, was that we don't have to decide right now.
Yeah.
But we can just talk right now. I can just let you talk right now.
But you are with improvisers who are like, they're very in the moment, impetuous, right? And they're very much like, let's go now. And you're like, no, we don't have to know now.
Well, much less you can disguise a decision. You can disguise a non-decision as a decision. Say, wow, okay, so this is great. So we've decided we're going to talk about this again. Okay, great. Let's all go home, write down any notes or ideas, and when we talk about it for 5 minutes, we'll go ahead and have a decision then. That sounds like we decided to do something, but really, we just decided to decide later. I'm not crazy. Everybody's moving forward.
Yeah. You're bringing them without telling them you're bringing them.
Because you can, like you said, like the arguing, can it work? Yeah, but it's so funny how much the art form mirrors life, because if you can find a way to let a person feel validated, it's like, okay, dude, you needed to say that. I don't know what happened this morning when you woke up. I don't, maybe you found out your kid was failing oboe. I don't know. But for whatever reason, you needed to express some kind of thing right now. Cool. I don't need to make this decision right now. I'm pretty much sure we're going to do this because it's going to make more sense. I'll take the week, put it on paper so it makes sense for you when you come in, and I'll email you. And when we come in next time, you'll already be on my side because it makes sense.
Yes. But
you don't know this, but you like me a little bit more because I let you have your sages now. You don't even know that's why you like me a little bit more, but you do.
And it's truly empathy.
Yeah.
You're like, you got to say this for some reason, something happened. Like, I don't have to come right back at you or counter that. You need space to say something. Now you feel heard, which is the basic human. I think like the number one human need is to be heard. I just want to be heard. That's it. And I don't always want advice. I just want to be heard, though. I want you to hear what I say. And that ties back into improv, which is the yes part of it, right? It's like, oh, I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, you are heard here.
Oh, that's it. I mean, especially working with creative geeks, because everybody, like you said, they want to go now. They got this big head of steam, and it's like, all right, but we can't. we literally can't do what you're talking about right now. No, you never know until. Don't quote me movies. That's not true. No, there aren't cameras rolling, so don't say it. Don't say that. we're not
And then you go, well, wait, what are you saying?
Right.
All right. So what you're saying is this. Here's how we get to that place. So I'm hearing what you're saying. Now we'll figure out. Or even if you say no, you at least, I hear what you're saying. So then the no is coming from a place of still understanding rather than just a reflex.
Right, right. Which is, I mean, I still get that sometimes with the thing that, like Ronnie says this all the time. Like somebody will say something, and I'll go, I don't think so. And then like 5 minutes later, I'll go, well, you know what?
Yes.
Oh, we might be able to do that. You know, because there's still this person in my head that goes, well, you kind of shot him down. Can you try and fix that and show him that you're listening and da da da.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's go back to what you said before. Here's how I think we might be able to do that.
Wow.
And you know, like just it's a thing now in my head. Like I'm kind of, even if I don't think it's a good idea, I still have to try and look at it and go, well, I mean, he had the idea for some reason.
Yeah.
Let's at least look at it. I don't know. You know, maybe I'm wrong. You know, maybe it can work. Maybe I just haven't figured out.
Yeah.
You know.
And if you're in a space where it's like, oh, I don't have to know that answer right now.
Right.
And then you take the improv hat and you go, okay, how could it work before saying no? And let's examine, could it work? Like with just that open mind. And then if it doesn't, cool, but at least we've tried it and we've looked at it. And then as you get more experience, I think you start to learn how much time you can spend on those moments to be like, we have some time to see how this could work. And then other times you're like, okay, we gave it a good shot. Let's move on.
Right. And it's still not. So one of the things that I was doing this facilitation thing for Entergy. Yeah. And one of the things that came up in the group was just the idea of a keep thinking on it folder. So it's not active. In order to get active, and I mean, you can get really granular on it and put rules and all that on it, but in order to get active, it has to do something else. But just keep thinking on it. If you like it that much, and you get a couple people, get a small group together, go have lunch once a month, and just keep thinking on it and bring it back to me or the group.
Yeah,
got these other things attached to it, so we're not going to keep bringing it back up in its current form because we couldn't get it to at least here. But if you can bring it here, then bring it back to us. You know,
that's great.
Totally welcome to do that. You know,
and that's not denying what's happening. You're just like, you need to and it a little more.
Right. We have not figured out. Like the work came up because they're an energy company and there's a lot of tech and stuff. And so what one of the VPs says, look at all the current technology we have. All of it at one point was in it might have been called something else, but it was in a keep thinking on it file. At one point, it was either inviable or nobody understood it or it couldn't get but it was still an idea that someone not only kept thinking on, but in some cases they passed the thinking on to generations,
Right.
And because they passed that on, whatever group or person got it last and went, okay, let's add this to it. Or this thing is now real that adds to that and creates the thing that brings it, to a level where we can take it further.
It's ultimate yes and, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's yes waiting for the end.
Yeah.
It's yes waiting for. So you still got the yes, you still got the agreement that we like this, but nobody's figured out that end yet.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we have to kill it.
Yeah.
Like that's the great part about using improv off stage is like the stuff we're limited by, be it time or because you half hour, 45, whatever it is. So we can't keep that. We got to throw it away. We got to move forward. But we're not on stage, so you can keep that. You can keep that. Nobody can find an end for, or we haven't found the right end. You can keep that until we find the end. The next step, next level, whatever.
I love it. Keep it till you find the and.
Yeah. It's like there's a lot of. I've been thinking about this. Like, there's just so much between on stage and off stage. Yeah. There's so much off stage stuff that when you bring it on stage makes it that much better. And there's so much on stage stuff that when you bring it off stage makes that so much better. And vice versa. There was also things, on stage that you don't want to do off stage. It goes both
Know the
ways.
difference.
It goes both ways. Yeah, I mean, it makes life, if you apply these little improv things and you kind of pick them apart and go, we do yes and, but what if I only have a yes? Now on stage, I can't only have yes. That's not going to work out, right? We've got to keep the story moving forward.
Yeah.
In life, sometimes I don't have an and yet. Doesn't mean that this initiation, this idea, this creation has to go away. It can just, we can just talk about it and what we think might be the right and for it, and keep applying things and taking them back. And I mean, it's really super cool. You get the time to, what I like to think, you get the time to play with ideas that you don't have the time to play with on stage. You don't have that time on stage.
Yeah.
You know?
How did you get into improv? What brought you in? How did you start?
So, okay, trying to go back here. I did a children's theater tour, and this guy Dave Schmidt was on tour with me, and he knew Del from when they were still doing I guess the story goes, they used to do these working groups, and so the only way you could get into the group is to know somebody who was already in, and then you go wherever they got space. He said sometimes it'd be in somebody's basement, sometimes it'd be in, wherever there was space for that week. Go and they work. And so your first few weeks you said nothing. And then after a while, Del would ask you a question. He'd tell you were stupid and then tell you to go ahead and get up and then see what you could do.
And you're like, this sounds great.
Right.
I'm so stupid.
I'm listening. I'm like, what? And he's like, okay, no, but it's really good because we were doing all this kid stuff. And so sometimes stuff, the kids would be, crazy or whatever. And he and I would just invent these different scenes or different ideas. And I'd go with him because he was a smart guy and he's funny. And so we get to the end of the tour and he goes, listen, I wish you'd have been around in the old days because I could have just brought you into a group and you could start playing. He said, right now, this is like late 90s, like 97. And he's like, everything's for money. And he's like, do this. Get back to Chicago, just audition for a few open groups. And if I'm right, somebody will pick you up and you'll start performing. You'll get to be around the theater. And then other people will ask you to do other things. And you'll learn. He's like, you're not perfect. You still need to be. He's like, you shouldn't pay anybody $400 to go. He's like, and I guess at the time, Charter wasn't really doing scholarships. She was just like, they were money, so you had to pay her. And he's like, if you listen to nothing else, do not give her any money.
Good advice.
He's like, not give her any money. I was like, all right, sure. So I go, and this is back still when it was on Clark Street.
Yeah.
I went in, I scanned the boards, I found a couple auditions, went to the auditions, I got into a group. That was a short form group. And then from there, I started going to just every jam night that was around. And then people would ask me to sit in. I got to know Jason Chen. He asked me to do a couple of things. And then I got into Weeby Negroes. And so I started doing stuff with them. And I just kept doing it from there.
Wow. And you're teaching some stuff online now too.
Yeah, I mean, I mostly do. So right now I'm selling my sales book and preparing for an online class. And I still have to make sure what I want to teach first. Because
Dude, teach. Just do it. Nike, man. Just do it. Do one. Just do one. Just do one class. Just see how one goes. Like, what's the thing you like to teach, and then just throw it out there. And then it's,
That's it. Yeah, because that's another thing, Dave. It's like, dude, you got to get it. Because what I'm looking to build with the website and everything, the theaters is overall teaching people communications, which is what I know is improv and sales, and using that in your professional life, and also using it to better your personal life, and how, you can, as a parent, even as a child, how it's like, dude, if that's how you want to present that, that's fine. It's probably not gonna work for you. Like, like, remember, you don't have any money, and you're short, and they have all the keys, so you might want to consider that in your pitch. What are we doing? But just, just using all of those tools together for people. You look at, like the police. I've approached Chicago Police Department to try and do a more of a sales workshop with them, and I still have to explain that more. But it's like, my idea on that is, if you're not selling your idea, then you're doing something wrong, because you're coming from a place, and this is just my belief, there's only two reasons to not sell. Either one, you don't know you're supposed to be, or two, you're coming from a place of arrogance where you think you shouldn't have to. I think a lot of times with authority figures, especially the police, that's where things go off, is they're managing and selling those phases of what's going on, because they're saying, I'm the police.
Yes.
After this badge says you do now.
Exactly.
And what they're not hearing, I think, is that there's a growing segment of society that is slowly and surely saying, no, you don't have that power anymore, because that trust is eroded. And so, no, you don't have that power anymore. You used to gladly in the 80s. Like, if you saw somebody defy a police officer in the 80s, you go, dude, what are you doing? Like, that was, are you crazy?
Yes.
And now that's not the automatic mentality. Now it's, why was he touching him? Yeah. Why was he stopping him? Why was she in that position? Yeah. And so when you look at that trust, which is, and I'll let you get, because but trust, like, that's another thing I talk about, is trust is not something that's earned. If I earn something from you, I can sue you for it. I have a right to it. Trust is given. Now, you can do things to facilitate someone giving you their trust and build up reasons in their mind why they should. That's fine. But at the end of the day, no matter what you've done, they can still, for a reason or no reason whatsoever, not trust you or take their trust back. And you have no right to it. None. That's like, to me, that's one of the biggest misconceptions, not just in sales, but life in general, is the idea that, I mean, in a lot of horrible misunderstandings and miscommunications and terrible ideologies. I mean, if you look at what they call date rape, I mean, it should all just be rape, but what they call that, like, that's some of that is this person believing that I paid for dinner and I did this, right, and so I'm owed. Right. Like, you're what are you talking about?
You're owed nothing.
Nothing. Like, you don't want to pay for dinner, stay home. Like, you don't have to do those things. Like,
yes.
What are you doing? But that's the mentality that comes with that idea that trust, any of those things that belong solely to you as an individual, are my right to do something to earn from you, and then try to hold you accountable in some sort of way. Yeah. That's insane. Yeah. That's a national epidemic of insanity, because you have a lot of people who believe that trust is earned. Like, you look at the cops, like they constantly, well, I earned this badge, so therefore you need to respect me. No.
I'm entitled. That's what it is. It's entitled.
That's right. I'm entitled to your respect because I've done these things and I've proven myself.
Well, and it also translates in a lesser extent to improv of, like, I'm not commanding respect, I'm demanding respect, and those are two different things. And I think a lot of the theaters as well kind of got to a point where they were demanding that respect, and it's like, no, you've forgotten about why you're doing this.
Yeah. You need to be doing what you do in such a way that people stop and go, wow. Yeah. Not stopping people and telling them to say, wow.
Say wow. Say wow to me right now.
Earned your wow.
Well, where can people when they want to get a hold of you, if they want to follow you, because you've also just released a sales dictionary.
Yes, yes. Thank you
How
for
can
buying.
they? Oh, yeah, it's great, and it puts it in great, like, all those terms, and it's such a wonderfully inexpensive resource as well. But how can people get a hold of you? How can they follow you? Whether it's social media or if they want to reach out to you.
I've got ChristianLeslie.com, which is KHRISTIANLESLIE.com. That's the website. And then the world's first sales dictionary actually has its own Facebook page now. So you can follow us. So you can get us on the website, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I cannot, dude, this is so much fun. I can't wait to play with you again, whether virtually or in person, and also continue our conversation, because that was amazing.
Awesome, man. Same here. Same here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll talk soon, my friend.
All right, buddy. Thank you.